Thank you so much, Dex, for joining us here today at the Dwelling Show. I really, really appreciate your time. I know you're busy, so just like carving out time to talk to us here means a lot to us. So, Todd Dexheimer, I'm going to call you Dex because it's so much cooler. I love that name. Can you tell our Dwell listeners a little bit about yourself and kind of what you've been up to lately?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I appreciate you having me on the show. Always fun to talk to like-minded people. So, good to be on. So, what you said, what I've been doing. Yeah. So right now, my focus is I'm a multifamily syndicator. So I'm buying value add properties. And I'm buying them in what I would consider emerging markets, not in my home state, not in my home city. So, that's kind of a scary thing for a lot of people, but I finally made the jump and did it. And I haven't looked back, so I enjoy doing that. And then I'm doing the syndication, and that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Where I came from is a background I think a lot of listeners of yours and most will probably relate to is I started small. I started with single families. I started doing flips. I was buying rentals, 1 to 4 unit properties, and started small before I got big. And we can talk about, the good, the bad, and the ugly about that if you want, or wherever you want that to go. But that's kind of where I started. And now where I'm at is buying, I call them mid-size apartment buildings. So I'm looking at apartment buildings right now between about 75 and 150 units. I'll buy 200 plus unit buildings. Right now I'm trying to get a deal together on a 218. We'll see if it ever happens. You never know. And I'll also look at some smaller stuff too. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dex, for that introduction. So definitely we want to go back in time. So now you're doing bigger deals, but like you said, you started small. So before we go into say maybe first couple of deals, why real estate?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's hard to remember back. I started in 2008, and I had a strong construction background. So I went to school I was a teacher. I was a shop teacher. So I was teaching wood tech and metals and architecture and stuff like that. And when I went to college, I went with the teaching degree with the emphasis in architecture and construction. So I had that background. And then I worked my way through college doing construction. I did remodeling construction all the way through college. So it was always kind of that, it felt natural, to me. And I got into it just by reading books, quite frankly. I was in my teaching career, and I knew at the time, only a few years in, I was already telling my wife, I got to figure out what I'm going to do because I don't want to be a teacher. I can't do this the rest of my life. And so I was thinking, should I become a doctor? Should I, should I become an architect? Should I, what do I want to do? And then I started reading books and thought, man, this sounds like a lot of fun. This is what I want to do. So that's kind of how I got into it. Was just reading books and really just getting, I guess, this is what I'm doing. I'm buying real estate. I'm a real estate investor. I remember before even doing a first deal, I was a real estate investor in my mind. And so I'm the type of person, though, once I commit, I'm committed. I'm doing it. So that's how it got in, I guess.
I love it. I love it so much. You said something that caught my attention. So in your mind, right? So there's a 22-year-old guy or 25-year-old girl listening to this thinking, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm reading books, right? I'm dreaming of buying, triple net list buildings or buying apartments or, office building or whatever, or buying single family rentals. But I'm just reading a book, right? Yeah. I'm just listening to podcasts like this, like bigger podcasts, but I can't, the bridge is that's where what would you say to that person, right? They're in that phase right now.
I would say keep on learning and no matter where you're at in life, obviously just keep on learning. and keep with that attitude. You've got to believe that that's what you're going to do, and you've got to learn about what you want to do. So if that's what you have a passion for, or believe you have a passion for, yeah, you've got to continue to learn, and you've got to continue to grow, and then start taking action. Before I bought a property, I would go out before I even had a real estate agent or anything. I would just go and drive and like look at junky properties and go, oh, and I'd write down these addresses. I had no clue what I was doing, but I just thought, oh, I'm going to write all, so I do that. And then I started looking with an agent, and we were looking at houses. I feel kind of bad for those agents because we looked at a lot of properties, but it was just, I needed to get in the door and start looking and start figuring things out. And then finally, okay, I'm ready to make offers. So I'd make offers. And finally, when I was ready to buy, truly ready to buy, it didn't take very long. It was, write a real offer and buy, and then go forward. And once I bought that first deal, it snowballed quickly.
Wow.
So, and I think that's like going to be for most people. Once you buy that first deal, you're going to start buying more deals because you see that it works and it's fun and you like it. And maybe you hate it and you don't want to do it again, and that's fine. Then do something else. But, if you like it and you get into it, you're going to just keep on going. So be almost, I don't know, possessed by it. Like be committed and completely committed. So.
Wow. So you were completely committed and you did buy your first deal, right?
Yeah.
What was that like?
So funny thing, I didn't just buy my first deal. I bought my first 3 deals all within like, I don't remember the time frame, but all within like a week or 2.
Wow, you got to tell us the story. You got to tell us the story.
Yeah. So the story will kind of explain it. So, I don't remember the exact order, but I bought a single family rental, bought that for like $60,000. And it put another 15 or so into it, and rented that thing out for, I think, around $1,400 a month. So super awesome numbers, right?
Right.
Then I bought, our own house to live in. So we moved from a town just about an hour away from the Twin Cities into the Twin Cities. So we bought a house in St. Paul. It was a foreclosure. It was a renovation project. So we were going to live in it and renovate and flip it while we were, living in it. So I bought that one. And then the third one was a flip I bought with a partner who ended up, then I partnered with him on a bunch of deals. But those first 3 deals all came kind of at once. And the flip actually ended up being a flop. It was terrible.
Wow.
I did all the work on it, and my business partner, we did all like the physical labor and everything. And we ended up making like $1,000.
Oh, wow. But then you learned, right? You learned from that particular deal.
Yeah, I learned a ton, and I actually swore off flipping. Wasn't going to end up doing it. And then a little bit later on down the road, I ended up flipping about 150 more properties. So,
wow.
Lo and behold. but yeah, it was just jumping in with both feet, understanding, and to speak to your listeners a little bit too, that you have to understand times were different. This was 2008. So timing couldn't really be better, and couldn't be worse by a lot of people's opinions. But in hindsight, it couldn't be better. When I was buying the first 3 properties, a lot of people thought I was crazy because real estate values already had fallen off a cliff, but they were still going down that cliff really fast. So even though I bought that property for that first rental for like 60 or 65,000, the value went all the way down to probably 40,000. So I was quote unquote underwater, but the math made so much sense. I mean, $1,400 a month for rent, and you're buying it for 65, putting another 15 into it. I mean, come on, that works all day long. So, so a lot of people thought I was crazy because of what I was doing, but to me, it made way too much sense. So
Wow. And that's kind of, I'm sure some of our listeners right now can relate, right? They're telling their friends, their families, I want to get into real estate. I want to start flipping homes. And they're like, oh, why do you want to do that? So when
Yeah.
folks were telling you that and saying you were crazy, how did you undo that?
Um, I knew I wasn't crazy. You know, it was just, you have to understand, if you educate yourself and you understand the value in what you're creating when you buy a piece of real estate, you're going to have a lot better chance of buying the piece of real estate properly. And then B, you know that it's a good deal, and it doesn't matter what other people think. You're kind of laughing on the inside going, okay, go ahead. It's a bad deal. That's fine. You go ahead and walk the other way. I'm going to go and dive into it and buy some good deals that I know are good deals. So you just have to have that mindset of, it doesn't matter. You're going to have a lot of people that are going to tell you you're crazy, and times are good now in real estate. So you're going to have less when times are bad. I mean, I remember calling banks, and banks are like, you're nuts. You know, this is, people lost all their money in real estate, and we wouldn't lend on that. No way. And it just, to me, it was like, you guys are idiots. Like, what are you're missing the deal. You know, it's like, so you just have to understand, if you educate yourself and you understand why it makes sense, it doesn't matter what other people think, because you know it makes sense. So just don't listen to the noise.
So like you said, you know, your flip was kind of a flop, right?
Yeah.
So, and you also bought a good deal that was a great rental, you know,
Yeah.
way past the what we call the rent to value of the
Yeah.
1%, right, you know,
Yeah.
equation. So you've got obviously a ton of experience now. Would you say at the single family level, asset class level, is it better to buy? I mean, I know this is going to be market specific, but just
Mhm.
generally to buy single family rentals, or just go in, flip, get out?
Boy, I mean, that, yeah, very market specific, and very, I would say, uh, timing specific as far as where we are in the market cycle. And then also, I would say, it's, what's your strategy? You know, what are you doing it for? If you're trying, there's no right or wrong answer, I guess, is the short answer. Um, Flipping's great when the market's going up in value, like it is right now, um, and you can do a quicker turn, right? Be careful with the really big flips, because if the market turns while you're in the middle of a really big flip, you're stuck, right? But if you're doing like a flip that you can get in and out with the renovation in let's say 3 to 6 months, I think you're okay. 6 months, a lot can still happen, but you're probably okay as long as your numbers are good. I know we talked earlier on, before we got on the show, about property you're doing, and you're doing a bigger renovation on that, but at the same time, the numbers, the slush is really good. So that type of project still works. So just make sure your slush is good if you're doing a big project. If you're doing a small project, just make sure you get in and out of it quick on a flip in this type of market.
Okay.
Rental, you just got to make sure the numbers work. Again, I mean, it's all about the numbers with the rental, and what's your return, and can you be conservative? Conservative is the biggest key. I see so many people not being conservative in today's market, just trying to get a deal done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Totally agree. So you've done the single family thing, you were doing pretty well. And there was a time that you said, hey, I want to shift into
yeah,
multifamily, right?
yeah.
Did you go through like kind of similar to what I'm doing now in that building? This is a duplex and we're house hacking. Did you go through that phase where you kind of eased into from like single family to like small multifamily and then apartments, or did you kind of leapfrog?
Um, I would probably say it was more of a gradual. So my progression went a little bit like this. I was buying a lot of 1 to 4 unit properties because it just made so much sense, right? Um, and but in the meantime, I always wanted to buy the multifamilies, and I actually kicked myself for not going multifamily quicker.
Hmm.
But you know, It is what it is. Uh, but I finally got into multifamily. First multifamily I bought was a 15 unit. It went okay. And then the next several multifamilies I bought were between that 10 and 25 unit. I bought several of those. I think I bought a total of about, let's see, I think I bought a total of 6 deals that were between 10 and 25 units. And then I went up to bigger deals.
So I think a good phase here could be, how are you finding these deals? Because that's pretty niche, right? 10 to 15, and you were able to get 6 of those, right? How do you, I mean, people are saying I can just go on LoopNet and find deals. Yeah. Do you find that to be true?
No, you can't go on the LoopNet and find deals. Well, maybe you can. I don't know. You have to build relationships with brokers. I mean, that's just it. You have to build relationships, and every market's different. Some markets are really difficult to build relationships with brokers and actually get off-market deals. Some markets are so difficult just to even find a deal, whether you build relationships or not. They're just so competitive. But what I ended up doing was researching markets that I could find opportunity in. Were increasing in value. Those markets were increasing in value. The jobs were coming into that market. You know, the employment's going up, the population's starting to go up. So positive things are happening. Affordability is there for the tenants. So tenants are paying a third of their income or less in rent. So those are the markets I looked for, and I found some markets that I liked that I could find deals in, and that's what I did. I went to markets where I could find deals, because my market is the Twin Cities. That's my home market. And to find a 10 to 20 unit deal or bigger, you're not going to find anything that really the numbers are attractive for me.
Gotcha. So you invest in long distance, right? I mean, there's a latest book by David Grain and Bigger Pockets about long distance investing. So
that's me. I have to take a plane to get to my properties.
Wow. So if I'm listening to this and I'm like, Dex, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm so scared. I was told I should invest in my backyard. How are you doing this?
Yeah. So, you know, and that's a big conversation right there in itself. And everybody's going to be different. I'm not going to be the one like the Grant Cardone guy that just says you got to go do it, because I get it. Like, I think you should go do it. I do, but I get people's hesitation. So you got to make it right for you. You do have to get over yourself eventually, in order to take action. And that's what it took for me. I mean, I knew that I couldn't find good multifamily deals in the Twin Cities that I really felt comfortable with. I knew it for quite a while. And so it took me well over a year to finally get comfortable doing it. So I'm not going to tell people you just got to get comfortable, do it. You do eventually. You got to get over yourself, but it can take a while. You got to understand the markets, and you've got to really get your comfort to be able to do it. But you're not going to have success if you don't work outside of your comfort zone. It's not going to work. So, I don't know. Did that answer your question?
Yep. Yeah, it does. It does. So you've got property managers on ground doing, operationalizing the asset for you, and you kind of manage the manager. So that kind of helps anyway.
Yeah. And so one thing I would say to people who are going, geez, I can't find deals in my own market. I want to be a real estate investor, and I just want to, figure out how to do this thing, but there's nothing good around. Learn from my hesitation and my mistake of not getting in quicker. I mean, if I would have been in these markets that I'm in right now a year earlier than what I did, I would have a lot more properties right now. And it just is, because opportunity was there when I first was wanting to do it. And a lot of opportunity went away by the time I actually got my butt into gear. And it's not that difficult to invest out of state. If you have to build that team. I mean, it's a company. You're building yourself a business. And here's one of the best things about investing out of state is that you have to treat your real estate like a business. If you are investing in your own state, you can treat it a lot more like a hobby, because you can, you can run over that property and fix a toilet. You can, run over and talk with the tenant and whatever. You know that you can go do a showing and stuff like that. So you're not going to run it nearly as much like a business if it's in your own hometown, and especially if you just got like one or two deals going on. But if it's in another state, you have to run it like a business. There's no other choice. You have to hire a strong third-party manager to be your team. You have to manage that manager. You have to manage people. You have to hire the right contractors. You have to, have people on your team in order to do it. So,
wow, fascinating. That I've never heard that before, right? That's such a different twist to it. And that's so true. Because my
yeah,
flip is literally, I'm pointing, I mean, those are listening and not watching the video, is like literally 5 minutes from my house, the other flip we're looking at. So it's all so close. And you almost get complacent, like, oh, I could just run there and just put out that fire, right? Because you just
yeah.
think it's right there. So that's really interesting.
It's funny because even like the rental properties that I still own a lot of the rental properties I've bought throughout the years, and I do way more than I should be doing on those rental properties because it's so easy to do. I mean, talk about crazy, and a lot of people that know me would just laugh if they heard this. Today, I went over to one of my rental properties and I fixed the tub spout on the like, talk about a waste of my time. Like, why did I do that? I don't even know. Like, after I got done with it, I was like, oh, that wasn't bad. That only took me, an hour and a half. And then I went,
An hour and a half, right?
what? Why did I do that? But it's so easy because it was just so close. I was in the area already, and
Right.
I wanted to go see the tenants, and so
Right.
I went and did the deal. And there's not like there's anything wrong with what I did, but it's just like, I don't know. It's something I don't need to be doing right now.
Right, right, right. That's fascinating. That's so interesting. So let's talk about one of these deals. I mean, you can pick your favorite one, the biggest one. Let's talk numbers on a multifamily deal. Whichever one you like. I don't know, the 80 something unit or the 15 unit. Just anyone.
Oh boy, man. Let's talk about a deal. There's so many we could talk about. So, I've got one that I kind of, it's midstream right now. So, but I just got a potential buyer for it, and I didn't advertise it. I actually didn't plan on selling it. So let's talk about that one. It's a 20 unit deal. I bought it for $185,000. We stuck another like 250-ish into it, which actually was over budget by quite a bit. We budgeted 185, I believe. And so we went way over budget, which there was many reasons why we went over budget. And if you want to delve into that, we can, but anyway, so we went over budget on that. But now this person that's wanting to buy it, I didn't advertise it. The broker that found me the deal it was a receivership deal. So essentially foreclosure. It was being a forced sale. The broker that found me that deal calls me up and says, hey, I got somebody that wants to buy a property and they're interested in your property. And I told them you'd sell it for probably right around 700,000 or so. And I was like, geez, I was planning on keeping this thing, but if you can bring me an offer between 7 and 750, I would highly consider selling it. And so, we'll see where it goes. They went and they looked at it this week, and I got an email from her today saying, hey, I want to see your current rent roll and what's the property management's criteria for accepting new tenants in. So
Wow.
we're sending them those, and we're expecting an offer, pretty shortly. And that'll be an awesome deal because I can actually 1031 exchange it then, because I had no intentions of. It's been under a year. So usually it's like, well, you can't 1031 because it's a kind of like a flip. But this I didn't advertise. I actually had honestly no intention of selling it. We're going to keep it for 5 years or more and then sell it. But this
Wow.
is, potentially a phenomenal offer that I don't think I'd be able to refuse, be able to
Yeah.
1031, get another building. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to for some of our listeners that kind of missed that. So acquisition price 185, you put in another
yeah,
250, so that takes us to 435. And now you're possibly looking, to exit this deal at like 750. So
yeah.
that's massive. And you said you've only got it just over a year or so now?
I've owned it under a year. Under a year.
Wow. Well, I
Yeah.
should say
So,
congratulations. So let me know when that happens. That's awesome.
well,
Yeah,
yeah, not
let
quite
me
there
know.
yet,
I
but
know. Let me know so we can celebrate.
yeah. Yeah,
Fantastic.
we bought it. We bought it in May. So, yeah, we're still quite a bit under a year.
Oh wow, yeah, definitely. Oh wow, that is awesome. So I'm listening to this and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm trying to do exactly what Dex is doing, but how do you buy a 20 unit deal? Do you buy it by yourself? Did you bring, investors in? How do you
Yep.
go about structuring and putting these kinds of complex deals together?
Yeah. So I'll give you the story behind that too. When I first started investing in real estate, right away I realized it wasn't going to be just me. Like, there's no way I could do this all alone. And I knew, you know, there's hard money lenders and there's stuff like that. I would tell everybody to avoid a hard money lender if you can. Find private lenders, people, and by private, I don't mean some stranger that's doing it for a ton of other people. I mean somebody that you can build a relationship with, a true relationship with, and then that can refer you to other people and tell people about what you're doing. And that's how I kind of did a lot of my flips, is that people would go, hey, I hear you do flips. I've got some extra money. What kind of returns would you give me? And so I built not a massive investor, group, but I built a decent amount of investors that liked me, trusted me. They always made their money. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I then took and said, I'm switching over from flips to all just multifamily. And so I talked with all my investors, told them exactly what I'm doing. All of them were like, heck yeah, we're all on board for that. And so that's exactly what happened. There was one investor in this deal, and we put the cash up to do the deal, and got it done.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
So last question before we kind of go into the quick round. So there's a lot of talk on if you're trying to do, multifamily, especially larger
Mhm.
multifamily. It's a little bit different to like flips. So would you encourage folks to have a mentor or not? And what kind of person or investment profile would need a mentor? There's something I've been thinking of lately.
Well, I think anybody could use a mentor.
Hmm.
You know, here's there's different kinds of mentors, right? If you're first getting started, if there's a way you can find a mentor that you don't have to pay, that would be great, because you don't have a lot of money likely when you're first getting started. So if you could find that mentor, I think mentors would have saved me a lot, because I didn't really have mentors. But think about it: when you're growing up, how do you get through school?
Teachers.
Teachers. So your teachers are basically your mentors, right? When you're playing, baseball and soccer and hockey and
A coach.
football, and you got a coach.
Hmm.
So you go through high school and college and sports, and you've got coach/mentor the whole time. And then all of a sudden we graduate and we go, we got it. We're good.
Don't need anybody.
Don't need anybody. So why do you think that we can have a coach? And we got adults, right? We got people that are phenomenal at what they do. Tom Brady, LeBron James, they're the best of the best. Who do they have? They've got coaches, right? So I don't care how good you are, having it, or how bad you are, having a coach is, to me, very important. So you've got to find people that are like-minded and doing what you want to do, already excelling at where you want to be. And they don't have to be, quite frankly, it doesn't, if you want to be a flipper, a mentor could be a person that's done 5 flips. It doesn't have to be somebody that's done 300 flips. It could be somebody that's done 5. They've been there and they've done that. They have already learned a bunch. And so there's a lot of ways to get mentors, but yeah, I think it's a must. Like you just have to get a mentor, whether you're paying them, whether you're volunteering for them, adding some sort of value to them. It doesn't matter. Just find somebody or
Awesome.
multiple people.
Wow. Awesome. I really like the analogy of kind of being in school and sports. I really like that.
Yeah. I mean, it makes too much sense. And I did a lot without a mentor or a coach. And I think I would have been a lot farther had I just said, I need people to, help me along the way.
Right. So we're definitely dwelling into the quick round. So these are going to be quick questions, quick answers.
Perfect.
You ready?
I'm ready.
First question. What would you say is the unique or differentiating factor that separates you from the next guy or the next girl?
Oh boy. I mean, I don't think I'm anything special. I just think it's that attitude of the commitment and that drive. I've got a drive that if I am wanting to do something, I'm going to do it. And so I think that's probably something that sets me, I don't know if apart, because I think a lot of people have that, but that's something that helps me along the way. That commitment and that just like, I'm just going to do it.
Awesome. Second question. What was the last book that you read, and what was the one nugget that you learned from the book?
So the last book that I read, and actually I'm still reading, I'm almost done with it, is the E-Myth Revisited. Oh man, the one nugget. There's so many nuggets out of that book that I really liked, but it just talks about getting your business in order and your systems in place, making sure what you're doing, you're actually running it like a business to where somebody could take over for you and run it without you being there every single day. So whether you ever plan on leaving the business or not, set it up to where people can take over your jobs that you do and run it for you. Because as you grow, you will want that.
Right. And I love the fact that he also mentions that you can actually franchise that business and sell
Absolutely.
that system. And I thought that was fascinating. Yeah, that's one of my favorite books too.
And what a great thought is, because it doesn't matter if you ever franchise your business or not, but if you set your business up based on that, like, hey, if this thing becomes big and I ever did want to franchise it, I've got these systems in place and I set it up the right way, and I could, whether you do it or not, your business is just going to be way better off because of that.
Right. Right. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. Last question. So you've got your deals going on. You've got the 80-something unit. We didn't even get to the ski resort deal that you talked about. You've got a ton of stuff going on. What do you do for fun?
Well, real estate, I have a ton of fun doing it.
I can relate.
But yeah, it's a blast. I do a lot of things, I guess. I've got 2 kids and wife, and we love doing things outdoors. We love camping and hiking and that kind of stuff. We just went downhill skiing all together. We love doing, sports activities like that. I love playing hockey. My little dude is getting into hockey right now. He's 4, so he's getting into hockey. My daughter's into figure skating, which is, it took me some adjustment, but I enjoy it. So yeah, I love hanging out with my kids and my wife, and just having fun with them and being active and doing a lot of cool things with them. So
Nice. So if I'm a dual listener listening to this and I'm like, I like this Dex guy, I like what he's talking about, and I like to follow him and kind of, follow his story, how can people reach out to you and find you?
Yeah, appreciate that. Well, a couple ways. I've got my own podcast that I recently started. It's called Pillars of Wealth Creation. So they can go on to pillarsofwealthcreation.com. Yep. The webpage is still actually being worked on, but if they go onto that, they can click and they can get to my podcast really easy. And they can send me an email, or connect with me on LinkedIn. So they can go to my LinkedIn profile, or they can send me an email. It's Todd at venture, D like Dex, properties.com.
Awesome. We're going to have that in the show notes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dex. I really, really appreciate your time. I really, really appreciate it. We learned so much. I learned a ton. Had some fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun being on the show. I appreciate it.